In the small, quiet town of Ravenswood, nestled between dense forest and rolling hills, there stood a modest schoolhouse that had been a pillar of the community for generations. Mr. Jonathan Harlow, a middle aged teacher with a penchant for stern discipline, was a respected figure among the students and their parents. Little did anyone suspect that the ominous shadows cast by the ancient trees harbored a chilling secret that would unravel the very fabric of Mr. Harlow's existence. It was a gloomy autumn evening when Mr. Harlow found himself caught in a torrential downpour. The rain drummed mercilessly on his windshield as he navigated the winding roads that led to his secluded home on the outskirts of town. The visibility was reduced to a mere haze, and the flickering streetlights offered feeble reassurance in the encroaching darkness. As Mr. Harlow strained to peer through the rain-streaked glass, a sudden movement on the road ahead seized his attention. He slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching against the wet asphalt. Panic surged through him as the realization dawned. A figure, shrouded in the thick curtain of rain, was standing directly in his path. In a desperate attempt to avoid catastrophe, Mr. Harlow swerved violently, the car skidding uncontrollably. The sickening thud that followed sent a shockwave through his entire being. He brought the car to a shuddering halt, his heart pounding in his chest as he sat in the eerie silence that followed. Slowly, he stepped out into the rain, his breath catching in his throat as he saw the lifeless body of one of his students sprawled on the wet pavement. The ghostly pallor of the boy's face seemed to accuse Mr. Harlow, whose hands trembled uncontrollably. Panic set in as he grappled with the magnitude of the tragedy that had just unfolded. Fear and guilt twisted in the pit of Mr. Harlow's stomach as he surveyed the desolate road. No witnesses, no one to hold him accountable. The storm seemed to cloak the accident in a sinister shroud, allowing him to retreat into the shadows and bury the damning truth. In that moment of weakness, the seeds of a terrible secret were sown. With a heavy heart, Mr. Harlow dragged the lifeless body to the side of the road, hidden among the damp undergrowth. The rain washed away the traces of his misdeed, leaving only the echo of his shattered conscience. He climbed back into his car, every creak and groan a reminder of the unspeakable horror he had committed. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of the secret bore down on Mr. Harlow like a relentless spectre. Sleep became an elusive luxury as guilt clawed at the edge of his consciousness. The town remained oblivious, and the school continued its routines, but an invisible web of dread had woven itself around Mr. Harlow's every waking moment. It was during one of those sleepless nights that the first whispers of the supernatural began to manifest. Faint footsteps echoed in the corridors of his home, indistinct murmurs haunting the edge of his hearings. Shadows danced at the periphery of his vision, elusive and unsettling. Mr. Harlow dismissed them as the manifestation of a tortured mind, a consequence of the guilt he carried like a festering wound. As the nights grew colder, the presence in his home intensified. Doors creaked open on their own accord, and chilling drafts swept through rooms that should have been sealed from the outside world. Mr. Harlow's rational mind fought against the encroaching dread, attributing each inexplicable event to fatigue and stress. But as the moon hung low in the night sky, a ghostly figure materialized at the foot of his bed. The boy he had killed. Hollow eyes bored into Mr. Harlow's soul, accusing him with a silent intensity that pierced through the layers of denial. The teacher recalled in terror, his voice caught in his throat as the spectre dissipated into the shadows. Night after night, the vengeful spirit of the deceased student tormented Mr. Harlow. Whispers grew into anguished wails that reverberated through the walls of his home. The atmosphere became suffused with an otherworldly coldness that seeped into his bones, chilling him to the core. Desperation gnawed at Mr. Harlow's sanity as he sought refuge in the isolation of his guilt-ridden existence. He became a spectral figure himself, haunted not only by the ghost of his victim but by the relentless shadows that closed in from all sides. Sleep became an elusive luxury, and his once imposing stature withered away like a leaf in the autumn wind. In the midst of this supernatural onslaught, the town of Ravenswood began to sense the disturbance that emanated from the depth of Mr. Harlow's conscience. Rumors spread like wildfire, whispers of strange occurrence, and a haunted teacher who bore the weight of a terrible secret. As the pressure intensified, Mr. Harlow's sanity unraveled. He could no longer bear the relentless torment, the nightly visitations that seemed to drag him closer to the abyss. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, and the once respected educator found himself teetering on the edge of madness. One fateful night, as the ghostly spectre of his victim loomed over him, Mr. Harlow stumbled through the rain-soaked streets of Ravenswood. The echoes of his own ragged breathing mingled with the distant howl of the wind, a symphony of despair that accompanied him on his journey to the heart of the town. A dimly lit police station stood as a beacon in the darkness, its walls a sanctuary against the encroaching shadows. With trembling hands, Mr. Harlow pushed open the heavy door, the creaking hinges a harbinger of the revelation that awaited within. The flickering fluorescent light cast eerie shadows on the worn titles as he approached the front desk. His words spelled forth in a desperate confession, each syllable weighed down by the burden of guilt. The police officers exchanged glances, their skepticism palpable. Yet, as Mr. Harlow bared his soul, the truth emerged like a festering wound, oozing out into the harsh light of accountability. Investigations were launched, and the small town of Ravenswood was thrust into a maelstrom of scandal and horror. The once revered teacher became the pariah of the community, his confession igniting a frenzy of shock and condemnation. As the legal proceeding unfolded, the ghostly apparition of the deceased student seemed to fade into the shadows. The vengeful spirit, having achieved its spectral retribution, left Ravenswood to grapple with the aftermath of a truth that had festered in the heart of the community. Mr. Jonathan Harlow, now a shell of the man he once was, faced the consequences of his actions in the harsh light of justice. The town, scared by the revelation, struggled to reconcile the image of the respected teacher with the monster that had lurked beneath the surface. The schoolhouse, once a symbol of learning and community, stood as a silent witness to the horror that had unfolded in its shadow. The echo of a tragedy reverberated through the corridors, a haunting reminder that some secrets could not remain buried forever. Ravenswood, forever changed by the spectral descent into darkness, grappled with the legacy of a teacher who had inevitably opened the gates to a realm where guilt and retribution intervened. The rains continued to fall, washing away the stains on the pavement, but the scars etched into the town's collective consciousness remained, a testament to the fragility of secrets and the inexorable march of the supernatural.